Good morning. So, just getting Facebook Live set up here, and then I'll be setting up my Zoom for, there's paid participants in this class in Zoom, so I'll be setting that up momentarily, so bear with me here. We'll get started in just a couple of moments here. We're just going to get the other technological side set up. Joining on Facebook, we're just going to be starting in a moment here, just getting access for people who are following along on Zoom. So stand by, just find a comfortable seat, and we'll start in just another minute or so. Actually, we're going to come right back here, ready to start in just a moment. Having a little bit of technical challenges here. So I'm going to be restarting in a moment, so just bear with me. There we go. Oh, there we go. Thanks for those on Facebook, just bear with me. We're just getting Zoom set up and we'll be starting momentarily here. Just a little bit of a technical hiccup. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. So we'll be starting shortly. Just ran into a little bit of a technical issue here. And super. Great. All right, everyone. So we're going to be starting in a comfortable seat. So find an area where you can feel a sense of ease in your seat. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Beautiful. So a little bit of technical issue there before we started, but here we are now. Let's go ahead and get started. Find a comfortable seat. We're going to spend a few moments turning our attention inward and really feeling a sense of comfort and ease in our seat. So as you find your seat here, I'm going to invite you now to close your eyes and turn the attention inward. Whatever surface you're sitting on, really feel the weight of your sits bones. Just a quick moment. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Beautiful. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Super. So, finding a comfortable seat, rooting down through your sits bones, feeling the weight of the pelvis firmly rooted and grounded. At the same time, we start to feel this beautiful polarity, the pressing of the sits bones, but this polarity of the upward lift through the spinal column, a natural lift, an elongation of the spine. If you envision there's a string coming up the crown of the head, ever so lightly lifting you up toward the ceiling, but without any sort of excess force, just a natural lift through the spinal column. Allow the shoulder blades to relax away from the ears. Keep the chin parallel with the floor. Allow the eyeballs to rest in the sockets. If your eyes were open, they would be staring directly ahead. So just observe if there's a tendency for your eyeballs to, even with the lids closed, is there a tendency for the eyeballs to sort of be pointed downward or upward or to one side or the other? See if you can relax those micro muscles that control the eyeball to just let it sit comfortably in the socket. Feel a sense of ease and comfort in your seat. And if you find that your mind starts to become distracted by sensation in the body, see if you're able to breathe easily and allow the mind to just let that distraction pass by and come back to focusing inwardly on the breath. If you get to a point that goes beyond an edge of sensation in the body, then feel free to adjust your seat. It might mean uncrossing the legs and taking them out in front of you, or just adjusting in whatever way allows a comfortable seat. The 46th section of Book 2 of the Yoga Sutras, Sthira Sukham Asanam, roughly translates into English as our seat is sweet and steady. We might see this as well being that our pose is sweet and steady. The Yoga Sutras really speak to the pose being a seated position to be able to meditate, keep the focus inward. It's other ancient scriptures or texts that introduce various asanas, poses, like the Yoga Hatha Pradipika. But the Yoga Sutras themselves is talking about a comfortable seat for the purpose of meditation. So make sure there's a sense of ease in the body. Begin to focus the awareness on the breath now as it's entering and exiting the body. Whenever possible for this practice, breathing through the nostrils. And that's, of course, if you're ever feeling congested, then naturally breathe through the mouth. But when available, breathing through the nostrils. Notice the sensation of the oxygen, the breath, near the tip of the nostrils on the inhale. As the breath continues up the nasal passage and down through the throat, into the upper chest, breathing into the depths of the lungs, and then really into the depths of the belly. On the inhale, you notice the expansion outward of the belly. On the reverse, on the exhale, noticing how the belly starts to recede and retract slightly toward the back body, the breath coming back up through the chest, out through the nasal passage. But keep today in this moment your focus on the edge of the nostril. So observe the breath at the edge of the nostril as it enters and exits. As you continue to sit in a comfortable seat, focusing your awareness at the edge of the nostril, observing that breath passing through on the inhale, passing back out on the exhale. Just being aware of any thoughts that will come. So in the Yoga Sutras, when we talk about that sense of yoga, that yoking together, that sense of union inside, it's that union with all. The second sutra says that when we still the busyness of the mind, the whirlwind, the vrittis of the mind, then in the third sutra, it is then we experience her true essence. Now, in this sense of stilling the mind, it doesn't mean we're going to wipe out all thoughts. That's just not possible. Sitting in a cave on a mountaintop for 40 years, you're still going to have thoughts. We're not trying to stop the thoughts. It's about not anchoring onto them, not attaching to the thought. So that sense of non-attachment that we encounter is allowing the thought, recognizing it, allowing it just to pass by, not anchoring on to those mental disturbances, those thoughts of things of past or projections into the future. So they will come, just allow them to keep going. More seconds here. Now let's bring our hands to Anjali Mudra. So we want to press the palms gently together, bring the thumbs toward the sternum. We create this beautiful paradox of almost pressing and pulling at the same time. So the palms are gently pressing together, but there's an activation in the shoulders where you're almost also trying to pull the palms apart. As we pause with the hands at the altar of our heart, take a moment to acknowledge something you feel grateful for in this moment. Maybe it's a loved one, a cherished person in your life. Maybe it's for the great fortunes of where we live on this planet. Whatever it might be, hold that in your heart. Beautiful. practice, feel free to close the eyes and bring that focus inward at any time. And of course, if you need to have a look, or perhaps it's helping your practice to open your eyes, then certainly do that. So to begin with, continuing to press the palms together, we're going to start to raise the arms up overhead on an inhale, taking the hands up toward the ceiling, palms pressing together. As you rise up overhead. Now open the shoulders, see in the ball and socket joint, the arms turn out, palms facing downward. Exhale, lowering the fingertips toward the floor as the fingertips reach the floor. Now again, at that ball and socket joint, rotate the upper arm bone. Inhale the arms overhead as the palms face upward, fingertips coming to touch. Turn the palms outward here. Exhale the arms down. And palms face upward. But notice you're not just shifting the change in the wrist. It's all the way up the arm to that ball and socket joint. Reach and extend the fingertips toward the side wall as you raise and lower the arms, really elongating the entire arm here. The next time you arrive at the arms overhead, we'll just pause here for a breath. On an exhale, turn the torso over the right thigh, lower the arms down. Now bring the left palm to the right side and let that right hand fall to the ground behind you. Walk it in closer to the spine. You might be resting flat on the palm, or perhaps for some of us, you're on tented fingers on the right hand. Whether you're on the palm or tented fingers, press through that to give additional lift through the spinal column. And slight gaze over the right shoulder. As always, modify and adjust as needed. If your neck is feeling tight or tender today, you can just keep the chin over the sternum and gaze directly forward. You're feeling this beautiful twist through the entire torso. Continue to root through the sits bones as you elongate the spine and crown of the head reaching to the ceiling. Following the next exhale, we're going to inhale the arms up overhead as we bring the torso back to center. Now as you exhale, coming to the second side, left hand side as you lower the right palm to the left thigh, left hand close and behind. Root through those sits bones, press through the left hand or fingertips to give additional lift through the spinal column, gazing over the left shoulder. Keep breathing deeply. Observe the breath again. Observe it passing the nostrils on the inhale, and again on the exhale. Following the next exhale, we'll inhale the arms overhead as you bring the torso back to center. A second time to the first side. Right hand side, again lowering the arms down, turn the torso, gazing over the right shoulder. Now maintaining your left hand on the right thigh, raise the right arm up overhead as you bring the torso back towards center. Reach and extend the fingertips toward the ceiling. Feel as if the arm is connected all the way down through the side of the body, intercostal muscles on the right hand side of the rib cage, all the way down to the waist as you reach and lift the entire side. You start to notice you're lifting the torso out of the pelvis. There's an option here to slightly start to arc over to the left-hand side, but make sure if you do this that the right sit bone remains connected down, just creating a greater broadness and expansion through the right side body, breathing deeply into those intercostal muscles, and option to move the head side to side here. Some traditions like to look under the armpit up toward the ceiling in certain poses. This is a good practicing spot for that, so that when we come to certain poses such as warrior side angle, some people like to look to the ceiling. Really, it's about what feels right for your body, but you can experiment and see how it feels. As you inhale the torso upright, keeping the right arm up toward the ceiling. Now lower that right palm down to the right hand side, pressing the palm or fingertips into the mat. Open the left arm out in front of you. Sweep it all the way around over to the left-hand side. Turn the palm to face up. Inhale the arm up and come over towards C-curve here. Don't collapse into that right hand. It's just there to sort of prop you a little. And make sure this left sit bone remains rooted to the mat. If it starts to lift, just anchor it back down. And now again, breathing deeply into the side body here. The intercostal muscles in amongst the rib cage. Feel them expanding with the breath. And again, option to gently move the head side to side. And we'll inhale the torso upright, raise both arms up overhead. On the exhale, we're coming to the left-hand side a second time. Second side, second time. Right palm down to the left thigh, left hand close into the spine behind, either gazing over the left shoulder or looking directly ahead with the chin over the sternum. Holding here for a few breaths, keep feeling you're rooting through your sits bones, you're elongating the spinal column, gently feeling the crown of the head reach toward the ceiling. Breathing deeply. Focus concentration at the nostrils. Now maintaining the right palm on the left thigh, raise that left arm up toward the ceiling. Reach and extend the left arm. Again, feel it coming all the way from the waist here. Couple of breaths here before the option to arc slightly toward the right hand side, keeping that left sit bone anchored down. Option to move the head side to side. And if it feels okay, gaze up toward the ceiling. Certainly that's not for everyone. Some days my neck doesn't feel like it's loving that. So just keep it gazing directly forward in line with the spinal column. As you inhale the torso back to center, raise that left arm. Now lower the left palm down along side view here. Open the right arm broadly across out in front of you over to the right hand side. Turn the palm to face up. Bring the arm up overhead and arcing toward C curve on this side. Again, really keeping that right sit bone anchored down. Reach and extend the right fingertips so you feel a broad expansion through the right side of the body. Breathing deeply here. Don't collapse into that left hand. And again, option to move the head side to side. And we'll inhale the torso upright, raise both arms up overhead, reach and extend them, but let the shoulder blades come together in the back body. So slight external rotation of the humerus, the upper arm bone. And now bring the arms down to 90-degree angle, cactus arms. Palms facing forward, spreading the fingertips wide. Observe the position of the scapula in the back body as you imagine you're taking your elbows further backwards toward the wall behind you, keeping a broadness opening through the front chest. On an exhale, we're going to bring the elbows together as we arch the back and tuck the chin. And on an inhale, lead the sternum forward, take the elbows apart, elbows toward the wall behind you. Exhale, a few cycles now with the rhythm of your breath. Exhale, bring the elbows together and so you tuck the chin and arch the back. Inhale, take the elbows apart. Now, if this feels unpleasant in your shoulder on any given day, it might feel nice to take the arms out wide. You can do this exercise in the same way. And if you do choose that option, then you're just bringing the wrists together in front of you as you arch the back and tuck the chin. Don't need to bring the fingertips together here. It's more about straightening the arm in that event. Otherwise, whichever option you've taken here, a couple more cycles. Beautiful. back to neutral. Go ahead and lower the arms. We're going to move to hands and knees in a tabletop position. So remove any bolster block you may have been sitting on. Feel free to double up your mat or bring a blanket if needed. And as you find a comfortable tabletop position, feel some neutrality in the spine here. The gaze looking directly down toward the mat. You're still elongating the spine, crown of the head reaching forward. Let's move through some cat and cow, continuing that spinal flexion extension we were just doing. On the exhale, arch the back, tuck the chin. Inhale, soften the belly, rock the pelvis back as you take the chin off the chest. Again, exhale, coming to cat pose. Inhale as you come to cow, sometimes known as upward cat or cat lift in some traditions. Keep flowing with the rhythm of your breath. A few more cycles now. Really observe what's happening with the pelvis as you move through these two positions, how it rocks forward and backward. As you're coming to cat, in addition to arching the center of the back toward the ceiling, really notice the area in between the scapula lifting high. So we're lifting out of the palms, the arms as straight as possible with a micro bend in the elbow. Exterior rotation of the upper arm bone. So your elbow pits, notice, rather than facing more toward one another, start to face more forward. This becomes quite important in protecting our shoulder girdle in certain poses like plank. Okay, that's coming back to neutral tabletop position. We'll go ahead and raise the right leg out behind us. Keep the hips squared off and parallel. Activate the foot, toes pointing down, dorsiflexion. Hug the muscles of the leg around the leg bones. Feel a long line through the whole body. Crown of the head continues to extend forward. Go ahead and lower the right leg down. We're going to raise the left leg out. Again, hip height. Hug the muscles to the bone. Feel as if you're trying to step the sole of the left foot onto the wall behind you as the crown of the head reaches to the wall ahead of you. Go ahead and lower the left knee. We're going to raise the right leg up again. And now walk the left fingertips forward on your mat. It might come ahead of the mat. And either resting the palm down or coming up onto tented fingers. Feel some activation and engagement in the deep core muscles, the transverse abdominis. Option here to raise the left arm off the mat, return the palm inward. So if you take that option, reach the right sole of the foot toward the wall behind and the left fingertips toward the wall ahead of you. Feel a sense of steadiness and ease. Really actively engage core muscles here. Lower the left hand, lower the right knee. Raise the left leg up behind you. Start to slide the right hand forward on the mat, either coming up onto tented fingers or pressing into the palm. With those deep engaged core muscles, an option to raise the right arm, turn the palm to face inward. Holding steady here. Lower the right hand and the left leg. Coming back to the first side, we're going to raise the right leg out behind us. Option to bring the hand forward on tented fingers and hold it there. If you feel steady, you can go ahead and raise the arm off the mat. We're going to come to cat crunches. So similar to our cat and cow poses here, but on the exhale, you bring the elbow toward the knee if you have the arm raised. If your hand is on the ground, just keep the fingertips there as you bring the knee under the chest as you tuck the chin and arch the back. On the inhale, take the leg back behind you. See if you can lift the heel a little higher to the ceiling. Exhale, again, bring the elbow and knee together. Inhale, stretch the limbs out in opposite direction. Couple of times more with your breath. And after this last one, holding here, the arms stretched out in front of you, the legs stretched out behind you. Lower the hand, lower the knee. Repeat on the opposite side. Raise the left leg, take the right arm out in front of you. Perhaps you want to keep the fingers on the ground. Your choice. Reach and extend the limbs in opposite direction. Exhale, cat crunch. Tuck the chin, arch the back, elbow toward the knee. Inhale, lift that heel a little bit higher to the ceiling. Exhale, bring the elbow toward the knee. Inhale, limbs in opposite direction. Couple more times now. Flow with the breath. Great reminder, if you're ever struggling with your breath, back up. That is a clear indication of having gone beyond an edge. Excellent. Go ahead and pause, arm and leg out in opposite direction. Lower the hand, lower the leg. Beautiful. Once more, we'll raise the right leg up behind us. Take the left arm out in front of you. Bend the right leg and the knee, 90-degree angle. Take your left arm around, sweeping it out to the side, and grab the shoelaces of the back foot, the shoelaces of the foot with the left hand. Press the palm, the foot into the palm. Beautiful. You can release the leg, bring the arm back in front, lower the knee down, lower the hand down. Repeat on the opposite side. Take the left leg out behind you, right arm out in front. Bend the left leg 90-degree angle. Sweep the right arm up to the right hand side as you take the right palm and grab the shoelaces of the left foot. Press the foot into the palm. Similar to our dancer pose, you really want that sensation of pressing the foot into the palm. So you release the foot, take the arm in front, the leg behind, lower them down. Let's come to child's pose for a rest here. Sink the buttocks back to the heels. Lowering the forehead down to the mat. We want to allow the parasympathetic nervous system to come to the fore here. So if the head doesn't reach the mat for some, you can rest the forehead on stacked fists or stacked palms. Remembering you can always modify child's pose. For some people it's too much sensation in the knees. You can come to an alternate resting pose. Keep the hips directly above the knees and lower the forehead to the mat. Pausing in this rest to reconnect with the breath, to just check on the state of the mind. And as you come out of child's pose, now again, with the palms directly under the shoulders in a tabletop position, we're going to now come toward plank pose. So we want to take the left leg back behind us and tuck the toes. And the right leg back behind us with the toes tucked. Lift out of the palms. See that you're lifting the center of the back high and that there's not a sinking in the chest. If you find you become tired in plank pose, the optimal option is to drop the knees and keep the arms activated, rather than letting the hips come higher. That puts undue strain in the shoulder girdle. And we'll go ahead and drop the knees into tabletop, pausing here momentarily, a couple of breaths. When we come back, eventually in a moment, we come back up to plank pose. We'll come into a three-legged plank where we're bringing the knee bent underneath the chest to start 3 times on each side, and then to the inside and outside edges of the arm. So let's come back to plank pose. Remember, you can always do this in tabletop pose. If you're not feeling plank today, you would just bring the knee underneath the chest with the other knee on the ground. Let's go ahead and come to plank if you're coming to the full expression of this today.
engage the core and abdominal muscles here. And we'll bring the right knee forward toward the center of the mat. Take it back behind us. And as you bend the right knee, bring it to the outside of the right palm. Take it back behind you. And at this time, bring it across midline, the outside of the left palm. Take it back behind you. Lower the right leg down. Let's take a breath here. Drop the knees, come to tabletop position. It's really important to remember to activate that external rotation in the arm bones so the elbow pits are facing more forward to protect the shoulder girdle. Lifting back into plank, lift the left leg, bend the knee, bring it directly forward to center. Come back to three-legged plank. This time take the left leg to the outside of the left palm. Back to three-legged plank. Now across midline, outside of the right palm. Back to three-legged plank. Lower the knees down. Come to child's pose. Sink the butt back to the heels. Or alternate resting pose. Excellent. As you come out of child's pose, we're going to transition through downward dog to come toward a hanging forward fold. So as you bend the knees, touch toes, lift out the palms, you take the hips up and back. Walk out the dog a few times here. Bend one knee as you drop the opposite heel. And as you come back to neutral downward dog position, begin to walk the hands toward the feet. As you bring the center of gravity now, you're resting on the soles of the feet. The knees are bent, the belly's on the thighs. The torso spilling forward, spinal column, head hanging heavy. Let's ragdoll upward here. As you keep the knees bent, chin tucked toward the chest. Unfurl the vertebra one at a time. The arms are hanging heavy like empty coat sleeves. As you rise up toward standing, coming toward mountain pose, standing at the front of the mat, rooting through each foot squarely on the four corners of the foot. Feel the activation of hugging the muscles to the bone, particularly in the legs. Feel the spinal column lifting, crown of the head up toward the ceiling, chin parallel with the floor. Broaden the front side of the upper chest, spreading the collarbones. You want to open the shoulders, rotate the humerus so the palms face forward here. Scapula coming together in the back body. Tadasana, full mountain pose. Excellent. Let's inhale the arms up overhead with palms pressing together, bringing them down to heart center. Hands at Anjali Mudra. A few cycles now. A little bit of pranayama. Inhale the arms, circle them up overhead. Palms come together, bringing them down to heart center. Circle the arms again. Really reach and extend the fingertips. Bringing the hands down to heart center. Really feeling this vibration of the breath. Two more times. And as we arrive back with hands at heart center, pause here. Beautiful. So we're going to come toward a bit of a warrior flow here. So when I talk about the four corners of the foot, you want to make sure you're squarely on the big toe mound, the little toe mound, and the inside and outside points of each heel. And we're going to go ahead and root through the right foot as we lift the left foot off the mat, maybe bring it up toward 90-degree angle in front of us. And then as you take it back behind you to line up for warrior two, turn it out at a 45-degree angle, sinking down into that bent forward leg, but there's more weight on the outer edge of the back foot. We're going to inhale the arms out at shoulder height in opposite direction. Holding here, torso is perpendicular to the floor, so just notice that there's a tendency for it to be leaning forward or backward. Soft, gentle drishti gaze over the forward middle finger. Couple of points of optimal alignment here. We want to protect our forward knee and our hip. Make sure the forward knee doesn't come ahead of the ankle. You want the shin bone to be perpendicular to the floor. If you notice it comes further forward, either back it up, that might cause you to rise up a bit higher, or take the back foot further back in order to ensure it doesn't come ahead. There's more weight on the outer edge of the back foot. Really important to make sure you're not crunching into the toes of the forward foot, squarely on the four corners of the forward foot. Exalted warrior, now rotate that forward palm, raise the arm overhead, drop the back palm onto the back thigh. Reach and extend that upper arm. Again, all the way through the side of the torso, right down to the waist as you reach the entire torso out of the pelvis. Option to gaze directly forward, chin parallel to the floor, or turn the gaze toward the raised hand. And we'll go ahead and bring the arms back to warrior two. As we prepare for warrior side angle, you can go ahead and bend that arm and rest it on the forward thigh. Pause with the left arm raised directly overhead to make sure that your torso is turned toward the wall in front of you. You'll notice here if there's a tendency for the torso to start to turn toward the floor. If that happens, rise higher up and rest the palm on the thigh rather than the bent elbow. You want that torso revolve toward the wall in front of you. Option to lower the left arm alongside the ear. There's also an option to straighten the right arm. If you're coming further down, you then press it to the inside of the leg, and you also press the leg back to the inside of the arm. So adduction here. Just an option. And we'll windmill the arms back to warrior two. We prepare for triangle pose. So we straighten that forward leg. Now for some people, you might like to shorten your stance a little. As you reach forward with the forward fingertips, send this back hip toward the wall behind you and rotate the hands to face toward the wall in front on your left, and lower the right arm to the back of the right, inside of the right leg. Raise the left arm overhead. Feel a broadness through the whole body. So reach and extend the fingertips in opposite direction. And here's one of those options. For most people, just keep the head in alignment with the spine. But some traditions like to look up toward the raised hand. That doesn't feel nice for everyone's neck. So if you might know immediately if that's not for you. Don't try it. It's not necessary. But for some people, you might be accustomed to practicing that way. Feel free to do so. Remember, it's not important how far down you come. You want to ensure these ribs on the left-hand side are knitted together. So don't let this side of the torso collapse too far. Keep reaching and lifting from the upper fingertips. And now lift from those upper fingertips, just bring yourself back up. Sink back down into that forward leg for warrior two. We're going to move toward mountain at the front of the mat. There's an option here to pivot on the back foot. The arms then come out to the side. Spring off that back foot and come toward mountain. We'll pause here in the second half of the pose. So again, feel that steadiness and stable position through the feet, the engagement of hugging muscles to bone, and lift through the spinal column, out through the crown of the head, chin parallel to the floor. Open the shoulders, rotating at the ball and socket joint. Palms facing forward. Bring the attention inward, focusing at the third eye. Connecting with the breath. And we'll go through the other side now. And this time, as you root through your left foot, lift the right leg up in front of you, perhaps coming to a 90-degree angle. And then as you take it back behind you to line up for warrior two, slowly, gently lowering it down, 45 degrees, it's turned out. Inhale, the arms out at shoulder height. Couple comments here. For most people, the forward heel intersects to the instep of the back foot. Some people don't find that very stable. In that case, you're welcome to take the feet wider apart toward the outside edges of the mat. Torso perpendicular to the floor. Reach and extend the arms, soft gaze over the forward middle finger. The pose is sweet and steady, the sense of ease. If there's laboring of the breath, back up a bit, bring the legs closer together. If there's no sensation, it's too easy, and the mind starts getting distracted, see if you can come a little deeper to raise that sense of awareness and sensation in the body. Come to exalted warrior, rotate the forward palm, raise it overhead, drop that back palm onto the back thigh. Again, reach and extend the entire left torso upward, fingertips toward the ceiling, either gazing directly ahead or raise the gaze to the left hand. Remember, there's still more weight on the other edge of the back foot, and we're not crunching into the toes of the forward leg. Squarely on the four corners of the left foot. Bring the arms back to shoulder height, warrior two. As we come to warrior side angle, maybe bend the elbow, raise that other arm overhead just to pause here. Make sure that right shoulder going to the wall behind you. And then lowering the arm alongside the ear. And if you do have the space for it, you can straighten that left arm, bring it on the inside of the right leg. Again, make sure there's no compromisation in the torso starting to turn toward the floor. If you notice that happen, just back up, raise the torso higher so you can open, revolve the barrel of the chest to face directly to the wall in front of you as the right shoulder goes to the wall behind you. Either keeping the head neutral with the spine or gazing under the arm up toward the ceiling. And we'll windmill the arms back to warrior two. Preparing for Trikonasana. Straighten that forward leg. Reach forward with the forward fingertips. Rotate the palms. Lower the back of the left hand to the inside of the left leg. Raise the right arm up toward the ceiling. Reach and extend the fingertips in opposite direction. Either keep the head neutral or turn the gaze to the raised hand. If you or any of your students ever encounter challenges and discomfort with raising the upper arm, there's tightness or injury in the right shoulder, you can bend at the elbow and rest the hand on the small of the back. Holding here, breathing. And the exit, so lift from the upper fingertips to bring yourself back up and then sink back down into warrior two. Finding your way toward mountain, maybe pivoting on that back foot, arms out to the side, spring forward. Again, lowering that foot, mountain pose here. Standing at the front of the mat. Turn attention inward. Again, opening the shoulders, palms face forward. Connecting with the breath, the quality of the breath, the state of the mind. Take a moment to recall whatever it was that early in this practice you felt grateful for. Just holding that again in your heart. Beautiful.
we'll go ahead and open our eyes. We're going toward a standing balance pose. So let's take Vrikshasana tree pose today. So again, we want to root down through the four corners of the foot. Now, unlike our Warrior Two pose, where we're not wanting to bear any weight on the toes, here the toes help to add greater stabilization. So you're not bearing weight into them, but that pressing of them into the ground sort of helps to create a greater stabilization. So we want to really activate our standing leg, hug the muscles to the bone, come onto the tiptoes of the left foot. We're going to open the hip out to the side. So we're coming toward a 90-degree angle with the hips. Rest the left heel just above the right ankle. And then an option to raise the foot off the mat. There's a number of options. You can bring the sole of the foot to the calf. You might bring it to the inner thigh. You always want to avoid having it on the knees. If sitting in half lotus is part of your practice, you can come to half lotus, the foot coming into the hip crease. I don't recommend trying this if you're not accustomed to sitting in half lotus, because it's really important the knee is below the hip in that option, if should you choose to take that. Whichever position you're in, you want that sense of adduction. Even if the foot's on the ground, the heel pressing into the leg. If the foot's on the leg, they're pressing together, you're adducting inward. You notice the activation in the hip flexors. Allow the hands now to come where they're called, maybe at heart center, Anjali Mudra. Perhaps alongside the ears, perhaps interlaced into temple. Some people actually take them behind the back and grab opposite elbow, or come to reversed prayer. It's really about what feels right for you in this moment. If you're utilizing a non-moving focal point, some distance in front of you, that you're gently casting a drishti gaze on, recognizing that that steadiness is coming from within. Always a micro bend in the standing leg, particularly if you have hyperflexive joints. We want to prevent locking out the knee. Allowing that hands to be released. Release the leg. And just take a moment to move in any complementary position. It might be actually rotating or shaking up the standing leg. So we prepare to move to the opposite side. And now we'll root down through that left foot, engage, hug the muscles to the bone, tiptoes of the right foot, open the hip. And now take the option of either pressing the heel into above the ankle or raising the foot, pressing the sole of the foot into the calf or thigh. And then letting the hands come where they're called to. So there's two foundational aspects of tree pose that we're looking at. The activation of the standing leg. So make sure it doesn't start to fall out to the side, the hip, for example. So if I raise my leg and now my foot, of the right foot, and the left leg falls out to the side, maybe I just want to back up here. I want to maintain that strong activation of the leg. If I raise the foot and my knee comes forward, I want to focus on opening the hips. So I'm going to take my foot back to the ground and work on opening my hips. Again, finding that soft, gentle drishti. Breathing, focus, releasing the hands now. Release the leg. And then just moving in any way that brings a sense of comfort and ease. So we're going to do a little bit of work for the quads here. We're going to come to chair pose, Utkatasana. Now there's different variations, I'm sure you all know, from different traditions and lineages and practices and different day in a classroom of what you're focusing on. Today we're going to focus on the neutrality in the spine in our chair pose. So we want to prevent either curving or arching the back. We want that sense that aside from the two natural lordotic and kyphotic curves of the spine, we want the rest of the spine just to be in a natural erect state here. So we're going to keep the feet either, is your sense, either hip width apart, or as some traditions practice, bringing them together in a single podium.
And as you sink the buttocks backwards here, take the sits bones back, inhale the arms out in front of you at shoulder height. And then again, keep that natural erectness in the spine. Sits bones are going back and down. Crown of the head extending forward. Make sure we're not curving or arching the back. Make sure the pelvis and booty's not sticking out, actually. Here, now have a quick glance down. Ensure you can see your toes. If your knees are occluding your vision of your toes, either lift higher up or take the hips further back. Need to be able to see the toes to prevent undue strain in the skeletal structure in your joints. Option to turn the palms inward and raise the arms up to the ear, alongside the ears. Keep breathing here. Remember, as always in any yoga practice, you are in the driver's seat. So you can come out whenever you need to. You can go a bit deeper. You can back up. It's your practice to modify as appropriate for you. So as you root through the feet, rise to standing, come to Samastatihi. Standing, resting pose, hands at Anjali Mudra. Beautiful. And now we'll come down toward a wide-legged squat. You can bring the feet to the outside edges of the mat, turning them out slightly. So keeping that neutrality in the spinal column like we just did in our Utkatasana chair pose, and start to sink the sits bones down toward the ground. Now for some people, you may not have the space to come all the way through. You can just pause with the palms resting on the thighs here, feeling strong and steady. For some, you'll be able to bring the torso right through the legs, sits bones toward the ground. In that case, bringing the palms to Anjali Mudra at heart center, pressing them together, sinking the sits bones as you extend the crown of the head upward. And making sure that there's not that, what one of my teachers calls putting your booty out here. You want to make sure that the pelvis isn't turned backwards here. Neutrality in the spinal column here. We'll go ahead and take the hands down behind us as we lower down onto our seat. Walk the flesh off the sits bones here. You really want to feel the anatomical term, the ischial tuberosities, those little bony ridges at the bottom of your pelvis. Make sure they're firmly connected. Activate the legs, hug the muscles to the bone, dorsiflexion here. Very engaged, hugging the muscles. I mean, it's firm here. You want to grip the muscles around the bone. Bring the hands alongside the body, palms pressing down, fingertips facing forward. Press through the palms to give additional lifts through the spinal column. Keep the chin parallel to the floor. Crown of the head is reaching up toward the ceiling. Dandasana, staff pose. Very active. Hug the muscles. This is actually more of a workout than someone might think on first glance here. If you're not feeling anything, activate the muscles. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and relax that. We're going to come down onto our back, so we scooch the buttocks forward as you lower onto the back, and knees bent, soles of the feet flat on the ground. The feet and knees hip width apart. Bring the arms alongside the body, palms facing down. Fingertips are going in the direction of the heels. If your head is collapsing back, see if you can rest on the occipital ridge. Elongate the back line of the neck and lower the head back onto the occipital ridge here. And just rest here, feeling sensation in the body, focusing on the breath. Just observe the effect it has on your torso on the inhale. The belly rising upward on the exhale, receding. So we're going to prepare for bridge. So now if you're still resting on your occipital ridge, you can find whatever position is most comfortable for your head. Remembering there's only a dynamic pressure on your head, and never turn the head to the side when there's any ounce of pressure on it. Observe the position of the pelvis here. Rock the pelvis away from the head. Notice that curvature in the small of the back. You might slide a hand under, you could. Now rock the pelvis in the direction of the wall behind the head and notice the spine fully flush with the mat, spreading the sacrum, pressing down through the low back. Once more, rock the pelvis away from the head, noticing that curvature. That's that sort of booty turnout that we're talking about in our other positions here. We want to now rock the pelvis once more back toward the wall behind the head. Keep the spinal column fully flush. This will be the most optimal position for our bridge pose. As we root down through the feet and the upper back and shoulders, begin to peel the hips off the mat and lift them up toward the ceiling and forward toward the wall in front of your knees. So there's sort of two directions here. You still want the shin bones perpendicular. So if you've noticed your feet are coming in too far and your shin bones are no longer perpendicular, just adjust them here, the feet directly under the knees. Lift the hips higher and further forward. Remember never to look to the side. If you need to look, come out of the pose, take any weight off the head before turning the head. We'll slowly lower one vertebra at a time back down toward the mat, bringing the pelvis and buttocks toward the mat. We're going to pause for a few breaths here before doing a second bridge with modifications if you're inclined. But firstly, resting the sacrum, the back, the buttocks on the mat. One more full, complete, deep, nourishing breath. Now once again, root through the feet and upper back and shoulders. Begin to lift the hips up toward the ceiling and slightly forward to the wall in front. If this is a normal part of your practice and you want to modify, coming to Yoga Mudra, rolling onto the shoulder heads, interlacing the fingers underneath the back, feel free to do so. If that's not part of your practice, you might want to bend the arms at 90-degree angle, rooting through the upper arms, press through the elbows, fingertips are reaching to the ceiling. Assist in giving additional lift through the torso here by pressing through the back of the upper arm. Whichever variation you've taken, there's an option for three-legged bridge. You can straighten one leg up to the ceiling. Ensure the hips remain squared off and parallel if you choose to take this option. And if you do take that option, make sure you do both sides. Remember, you're in the driver's seat. You come out whenever it feels appropriate. Otherwise, 2 more breaths. And if you're in Yoga Mudra, go ahead and release that. Roll off the shoulder heads. We'll slowly lower the vertebra one at a time as we lower the sacrum back down to the mat. And now, soles of the feet off the ground as you hug the knees in toward the chest. Either remain stationary here in a supine child's pose or gentle rocking side to side. Supta Balasana. Now we'll come to Ananda Balasana, happy child pose. So we'll straighten or keep the knees bent, 90-degree angle, soles of the feet going up toward the ceiling. The hands might land partway on the legs, or perhaps they reach the feet, either the outside edge or the inside edge of the feet. Another option is you take your peace fingers around the big toes. And wherever you've grabbed your legs, you want to see that you're bringing the knee to the direction of your armpit here. This really assists in spreading the low back. And again, an option to remain stationary or perhaps a gentle rocking side to side. For those of you that have children or grandchildren or maybe nieces or nephews, I'm sure you've seen very young babies doing this, usually on a changing table. But it's appropriate that the Sanskrit Ananda Balasana translates as happy baby or happy child. We can all remember seeing, and remember, of course we wouldn't remember this, but we all would have done this at some point. So connecting with that inner child within, that joyful, serene, pure, blissful space that still resides there in this moment. ahead and release the feet. Bring the knees bent, soles of the feet flat to the ground again. Arms alongside the body. And just windshield wiper the legs a little bit side to side. Beautiful. So we have about another minute left before we move toward final resting pose, Shavasana. So if there's anything your body's requesting, any movement that your body needs today that we didn't get to, feel free to spend the next moment, 30, 45 seconds, doing that, just responding intuitively to what your body is needing. If you're feeling complete and ready to move towards Shavasana, you can go ahead and grab an article of clothing or blanket or something to really ensure you create a sense of ease and warmth and comfort. It's optimal in Shavasana that you don't feel disturbed by breeze. We really are going to take the opportunity to connect with the parasympathetic nervous system, and any minor external distraction, annoyance, can activate the sympathetic nervous system somewhat. So really take an opportunity to really feel a sense of comfort. Now laying down on your back, remember if you're ever feeling tightness or tension in your low back, you can bend your knees in Shavasana here, or even putting a bolster under the legs can be a sense of ease on that low back. Kind of like what we did with our pelvis in our bridge preparation, you'll notice how bending the knees changes the position of the pelvis. If you do take traditional Shavasana today, the legs stretched out in front of you, feet splaying outward. The arms are alongside the body about 15 degrees off center line. Resting on the back of the hands so the palms and fingertips face upward. As we all know, the fingertips are such extrasensory perceptors, so having them pressing down or touching down onto the ground could just be a little unnecessary distraction. So resting on the back of the hand is optimal. Again, if you notice the head is collapsing back when you're resting on the back of the skull, you might find it more comfortable to elongate the back line of the body and rest on the occipital ridge at the back of the skull. It also creates a greater sense of ease of breath through the trachea, and also a greater sense of flow of our Sushumna channel. Takes an opportunity to scan the awareness through the body and see if you may be holding or clenching or gripping in any manner, any muscles. Is there any space, any area that you can invite some more rest and relaxation? Sometimes it can be surprising as we do this body scanning awareness to say, oh, yeah, I'm still holding a bit here. Even examine around the areas of the mouth. Are you clenching the mouth closed? Is there pressure on the jaw? Are you pressing the tongue into the roof of the mouth? See if you can allow everything just to relax there. The lips lightly touching, the tongue relaxed. Observing if there's a tendency to squeeze close the eyelids rather than just resting them closed. The micro muscles of the eyeball, are they relaxed, or is there any sort of clenching still? Allowing expression on the face just to wash away. And finally, bringing the focus to the third eye. Space in between the eyebrows. And we know 2.5 or 3 inches into the skull, it's near the areas of the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the hippocampus, the areas responsible for that rest and digest. But as you focus the attention between the eyebrows, see if you can bring it a few inches in front of you, just continuing to focus that attention here.
deep breath, starting to bring some sensation, awareness, and vitality back into the physical form. Begin by making some small, slow movements, maybe wiggling the fingers and toes, or maybe rotating the wrists and ankles. And perhaps bring the arms overhead alongside the ground and have a big stretch like you're awakening from a sleep. Really stretching the feet out in front of you, the arms behind, overhead. And now hugging the knees in toward the chest. A couple more moments here, gently rocking side to side. Finally landing on the right hand side in a fetal position. We pause here in this womb of existence. I love the imagery of a transition from Shavasana, corpse pose, to the fetal position as a reminder that every moment is a new beginning. Every moment is like a rebirth, a renaissance. An opportunity to start anew. Each instant affords us this chance to leave the past behind and start right now. As you stretch out the upper arm and the upper leg, pressing into the upper hand, bringing yourself to an upright position. And take a moment to close our practice. Just getting settled. If you had to open your eyes to find that seat, go ahead and close them again. Bring the awareness inward here. In our happy baby pose, I mentioned how that sense of sweet, pure innocence still exists within us, always. We are full, whole, and complete exactly as we are. And just like the moon, at different times of the month, we look out there and see just a sliver or maybe a half of the moon, and it looks like it's not complete to the way we're seeing it. But we know it's just a reflection of the sun. The full moon is always there, even when it doesn't appear to be. And so even in those moments when any of us feel not quite full, not quite wholly ourselves, it's always all there. We are always full, whole, and complete. You can reconnect with that at any time. We just need to change the position of how the sun is shining on it and illuminate that aspect of ourselves. It's always there. Let's go ahead and bring the palms pressing gently together, thumbs to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Once more, bringing to the awareness what you were feeling grateful for at the start of this practice. And feeling the fullness in your heart, an overflowing sense of love and compassion, kindness and grace, always full, whole, and complete, even when it doesn't appear that way. The eternal in me acknowledges and bows to the eternal in you. Jai Bhagwan and Namaste. May we always know truth. May we always speak truth. have a beautiful and blessed day. Thank you for being here. I invite you to join any Friday, 9:30 till 10:45. I also am here on Mondays, same time, 9:30 to 10:45 for a gentle flow. So welcome to join then as well. Take good care, be safe, be well. Look forward to connecting again. Enjoy your training.